Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. Here is part 1 on understanding and identifying the symptoms of acid reflux in babies. This cute little face is the cause of so many sleepless nights, so I hope this video is very helpful.
Dealing with babies with acid reflux. Look at this. Oh. Biddy, what is taking you so long?
Sorry, I was complaining.
It's legit getting in my eyes. Take her. Let me wipe my face.
Today we're talking all about acid reflux in babies. This can be one of the most stressful times because it's at its height at 2 to 4 months. So if you're in the mix of throw up and colic and crying, stay tuned. I want to give you some symptoms to identify whether your baby is suffering from acid reflux and the tips and tricks that I use without medication to cope with this issue. My son suffered from acid reflux until about 12 months, and now my daughter at 3 months is showing the height of the signs and symptoms. So let me go ahead and give you these useful tips on dealing with acid reflux to hopefully make your life a little bit easier. Acid reflux in babies, also known as gastroesophageal reflux disease or GERD, shows up in about 20% of babies, and it's more common in boys, also more common in babies that are premature. My daughter was about 5 weeks premature and my son is a boy. So maybe that heightened our chances of having reflux in both children. Also, my husband has acid reflux and there is a link to it being hereditary, which means that it can be common in families. Acid reflux occurs because when the esophageal muscle is a bit weak at first when they're first born, and it is not able to keep the food below or in the stomach, so it tends to come up the esophagus. Obviously, this is easier with milk and it tends to get better once the baby is having solids, but introducing solids too quickly can actually worsen the reflux. Here are 10 symptoms that are most likely to identify whether your baby has acid reflux. Obviously, you don't have to have all symptoms to be diagnosed with reflux, and it can be self-diagnosed. Vomiting or spitting. So obviously vomiting or throwing up often, spitting up, is going to be a sure sign that there is something that is more likely acid reflux. Most babies throw up once per day or have small spit ups, but if this is happening after every single feeding or is in a larger quantity after every feeding, this might be a red flag that it's more than just common baby spit up and that it might be GERD. Refusal to eat or refusal to accept the breast or bottle. This is a common one because, like the saying goes, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Babies are just like everybody else and they start to learn quite quickly that the milk is what's causing them an issue or the breast is what's causing their issue. So they're going to avoid this. And this can cause serious issues if the baby is refusing to nurse or refusing to accept a bottle, because this can lead to weight loss. And this is something, if you have a baby or if you're planning on having a baby or if you've ever been around babies, you know that they get their weight taken quite often in those first few months because this is a strong indicator of their ability to grow and their health. So if your baby is starting to refuse to nurse or refuse to accept a bottle, this is an indicator of poor health. If the baby starts to lose weight, this is called failure to thrive, and this is a very big concern amongst health professionals and your pediatrician. So this may introduce the concept of medicating your child in order to keep the acid reflux at bay so that they can accept food. There has been linkage for anti-reflux medication for babies and other health issues or health outcomes. It's not solidified and there hasn't been a lot of research in this round, so if there is something that you're considering is medication, then you should do a ton of research to make sure that the benefits outweigh the concerns and that you're really doing this for your baby and it's not just a social issue. If your baby is not failing to thrive or failing to gain weight, then acid reflux in them is more or less considered a discomfort, mainly to the parents due to the laundry and the mess and just the general discomfort of being thrown up on 24/7. So keep that in mind. Are you doing it for yourself or are you truly doing this for your baby because your baby is in pain? So that's a common one if the baby is refusing. But if they're not refusing, they could also just have a general irritability when feeding. This is a symptom to look out for if they are wincing or moving in a way that shows that they're extremely uncomfortable. This is usually a sign that they need to be birthed as well. When my daughter does this crawl up, you start to hear a little whimper sound, but she's still nursing. I go ahead and take her off of the breast or take the bottle away from the child and birth them at that point, because there's usually air down there, and if you keep nursing through that until they come off themselves, then I find that they usually throw up a greater amount. The common one is wet burps or hiccups is another symptom. The hiccups can also be a sign of silent reflux because they have this, or the hiccup sound because it's coming up but it's not coming out, or wet burps, every time they burp a little bit comes up. Abnormal arching or arching of the back, this can also go into irritability if they seem a little annoyed and they're arching their back or making convoluted movements with their body. This is a sign of acid reflux. Frequent coughing is very common in babies who have silent reflux, which means they're not always throwing up, but they might have this or this kind of sound where the milk is coming up but is not coming out. This is also may sound like a wheezing or cause recurrent pneumonia. This may be the scariest symptom of them all. It's the gagging or choking. My daughter has this severely. She has the milk come out of her nose and her mouth at the same time, and she cannot breathe, so she chokes quite aggressively, and it's quite a scary sight. But the trick is to remain extremely calm. Babies can feel when you are anxious or if you're freaking out. This is only going to exacerbate the issue. So just kind of pick the baby up, pat him, calm him, and she actually doesn't cry as long as I'm not freaking out with her. Now, if I'm like trying to snatch her up real quick because I think she's choking and I'm freaking out, then it's just going to make the situation worse and she'll cry. Just try to remain really calm. Try to remove any milk from around the mouth or in the nostrils if it's still stuck there or causing any breathing issues, and let her work her way through it. A lot of parents are really afraid to put the baby down after they choke, or that this choking will actually stop them from breathing. Babies are more or less designed to be able to regain their airways. Obviously, you want to monitor, but the risk of actually choking and causing breathing issues is very low. Chest pain or heartburn is another symptom. This one I think is quite difficult to say whether your baby has heartburn or not, so I'm not going to go too far into. And disturbed sleep. This is probably one of the most difficult symptoms to deal with in a baby, because you nurse and they're quiet and they're sleeping, and soon as you go to lay them down, choking, coughing, gagging, throwing up, everything. The acid reflux really disturbs their sleep, your sleep, whoever is in an earshot sleep, especially if it's combined with colic. So there's a difference between just a baby being a bit fussy and not sleeping and acid reflux. My daughter, every time I would put her down after nursing, she would just throw up. And they already want to be very near you. That's very common amongst newborns. But with the acid reflux, it is definitely the next level. If you're dealing with a baby with acid reflux or any other health issues, please take care of yourself as well. It can be extremely stressful to take care of an ill baby that is fussy at the time, so keep that in mind. Maybe none of these tips or tricks will be the solution, but they should help in coping some of the issues. Hey guys, I hope you found this video really helpful in identifying the symptoms. If you'd like to know what I do to help alleviate the stress on me and my children to get rid of the acid reflux, go ahead and watch the next video right here, part 2. If you found this helpful though, go ahead, like, subscribe, and comment. See you around.